Hi. So our first little series here focuses on feet. Often we don't think about our feet very much until something is bothering us. So all of these are preventative things that we can do. And then if you do find yourself injured or something's just kind of nagging at you, these are some nice easy things that you can do to kind of gently reverse some of that. A lot of times, runners, athletes, we have this desire to force things to go away. And that is not how, as you know, injuries work, and it's not how yoga works. So anyway, so we start with mountain pose, and we typically start with feet hips distance. This is just to bring a little bit of awareness to your feet and in relation to the rest of your body. So we typically start about hips distance, right under those hip points. And often you will hear the cue to have your feet parallel. If you will notice, everybody's sort of angle here, where the femur comes out of the hips, is a little bit different. And if you will notice on me, if my feet are parallel, when I bend my knees, they go in. So I turn my feet out just a little bit, so that when I bend my knees, they track right over my first and second toes, rather than in between my feet. So just check that out and just see you may be perfectly aligned, and you may have one leg that is one way and one leg that is a different way. But just check that out. Make sure that your knees are tracking right over your first and second toe. Just let your arms kind of hang by your sides, or even send your palms forward, a little activity in your upper body. And lift all of your toes. Particularly focus on the press down of the ball of your foot behind your big toe, that big toe joint. And then kind of rock your weight back into your heels. And just notice what's happening in your arch. And then keeping your toes up, take the toe on the furthest outside on both feet and press it down. Try to keep each toe separate from the others. And they don't really like to do that. They like to go as partners. After you've pressed that outside toe, then your next, and then your next, and then your next, and then your big toe. And then take a look down. See that your toes are really spread out. That's really nice for your feet, especially when they're crammed in shoes all day, and then we're running and just causing them lots of trauma. So just do that a few times. Lift your toes, spread them wide, and then one at a time, press them down. And then once they're all down, give them a little squeeze. And then let that release. And do that a few times, and just notice what's happening in the bottom of your foot. So if you've had plantar fasciitis, this is probably one of the things that you were meant to do, kind of doing that, or pulling your towel, scrunching up your towel, or frozen water bottle or a golf ball or something like that on your foot. But this is something that you can do without any props. But it just gives a little awareness to the bottom of the foot, a little resilience. Just do that a few times. And then we'll step, we'll keep the feet hips distance and step one foot back, doesn't matter which. And when you step back, rather than stepping right in line with the front foot, Step a little bit wide, so you're still hips distance here, and you can bring a little bit of stability to you. So send that foot back. Watch that your front knee is right over your ankle, and send your heel down. You can send your arms up if you want, or down behind you. Then that gives a little bit of opening in the front body too. I'll turn to the side. So you'll press the heel down. It gets into the bottom of your foot, the calf, maybe even up into the back of your leg and your hamstring a little bit. It just kind of depends on what's happening to you or in your body. And then lift your heel way up. So toes are still spread wide here. And exhale, sink it down. And then just do that a few times on either side. And then we can switch sides. So step it back hips distance. And if you don't know what to do with your arms, you can just put your hands on your hips. And then just let your heels sink down. And then inhale, press and lift the heel. And then back down. So real simple. Also adds a little bit of balance work, a little bit of stability work, not a ton, but a little bit. Then you can bring your hands down and step back into downward facing dog. And so let me go sideways here. So often, or at least I used to think that my heels needed to be on the mat. That's not true. And your legs don't have to be straight either. So the idea is to find a straight line from wrist to hip here, and soften your knees a little bit so that you can take that roundness out of your spine. So most things that we do in yoga, unless it's specifically indicated otherwise, we don't really want a ton of extension or flexion in the spine. We just kind of want a neutral spine. So if you soften your knees a little bit and turn your tail, your sitting bones up toward the ceiling, you'll find this may be huge in your calves too. But the bottom of the feet, the Achilles, the calf, maybe some hamstring, maybe a lot of hamstring. And then it also starts to give you a little bit of core strength, shoulder strength. Because upper body strength is just as important in our running too, to be able to hold that posture for a long time. And then just walk your hands back to your feet. And then we'll come to, I'll actually stay sideways. So we'll come to a tabletop and send one foot behind you. Press your toes down on the mat and send your heel way back. So using the leverage that you have with the heels of your hands, pressing down and forward. And then just kind of rock back and forth. And do that a few times on each. So again, we have toes spread wide. We're in the bottom of the foot, we're in the Achilles, the calf, maybe a little bit of hamstring catches there. And then to add a little bit of core strength with that, you can turn both toes under, straight legs and heels back, and moving forward and back. And then the next one is called Hero. And we'll do a little bit of a variation on this. In yoga, it's a little bit different, but for our purposes, we'll keep it simple. If sitting this way is uncomfortable for your knees, or if your quads are giving you a lot of feedback, you can find a block and sit on it on any height that you like. Just bring your sitting bones to it. So this stretches the top of the foot, and what you want to make sure of is that your toes are pointing straight back. They're not kind of sickled in like this. You want them to be pointing straight back. Otherwise, we're just stretching the outside of the ankle, and we want to be stretching the top of the foot. So another thing that you can do if your knees don't enjoy this position is either bring a blanket under your knees and let your feet and ankles hang off the side, or bring your blanket between calves so then it's not so much of a bend here, but we're still focusing on the top of the foot. And then while you're down here, you can turn toes under. And I would find a block here or something. Some people, this is not a problem at all. Other people, it's a little bit torturous. So spread your toes out and start to bring your hips down toward your heels. This is called broken toe pose. And once you've kind of established that you can stay there, you want to be in a sustainable place. You don't really want to be pushing so much that there's pain or that you can't breathe, or that you won't be able to stay for a little bit. If you find yourself in a place like that, just back off. That is how yoga is a little bit different from our other athletic endeavors. So you can bring your hips down to your heels and then just slowly start to make your way up. And then you come back down. And you can turn your toes under, give them a little shake. And if you wanted to put that into a little bit of a flow, it would look something like this. So you would start in mountain pose, palms facing forward, feet hips distance-ish, feet parallel-ish. Inhale up. Exhale, soft knees, long spine, fold. We'll go over this in another video. Lift halfway up, fingertips to shins, halfway up. So check it out. So you see how this is long and flat. So what you will see and what you might do yourself is one of these. That's what we're trying to avoid. So we take this little tilt in the hips and we lift the hands a little bit higher to find some length in the spine and in the back of the neck. So let me start over here. Inhale up. Soft knees, long spine and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step your right foot back. Inhale into crescent lunge. Lift your heel up. Exhale, send your heel down. Hands frame the foot, step back into your plank. Send your heels back. Shift forward. Shift back. Lower down onto your knees. Send your right foot back, toes down. Send your heel back and forth. Just a couple times. Lower your right knee, send your left foot back. Same thing. Just kind of gently opening the bottom of the foot, the Achilles, the calf. Come to your knees and into hero. Prop that if you need to. Just take a few breaths with the tops of the feet flat on the mat. You may find that they don't go flat, and that's okay. You can slide a little rolled blanket right under your ankles. And then kind of shift forward, turn your toes under, come into broken toe. Just for a few breaths. Then walk your hands forward, come back into down dog. Step your right foot forward into crescent lunge. You can kind of scooch that out so your hips distance. Inhale, lift your heel. Exhale, heel down. Hands frame the foot, back foot steps forward into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, all the way up into standing. And that's how we take care of feet and calves.